My parents chose to fund my sister's boutique instead of my daughter's surgery, giving her $140,000. Then my fiancé asked, should I tell them I make $1.1 million a year? My fiancé deliberately let my parents choose my sister's boutique over my daughter's life-saving surgery. And when the truth came out at that expensive restaurant, I finally saw my family for exactly who they were. The restaurant Michael chose had cutlery that cost more than my first car. He specifically picked this place for the dinner with my parents. When I questioned the decision, he said they would take us more seriously in an expensive setting, that it would show we were responsible adults worth investing in. I was too desperate to argue. Looking back, I realized he already knew exactly how that evening would unfold. My daughter Sophia sat beside me, her small hand never leaving mine. At 7 years old, she understood more than any child should. The tumor pressing against her spinal cord had taught her about pain, hospitals, and conversations that suddenly stopped when she entered rooms. 2 weeks earlier, she had asked me if she was going to die. I held her tight and lied, told her everything would be fine. But the surgery cost $150,000, and our insurance company had denied the claim twice. They called it elective, despite 3 independent medical opinions confirming it was medically necessary. My parents arrived 15 minutes late. My mother Clara wore her new Chanel jacket, the one she had shown off on Facebook last month. My father John had on his Rolex, a gift he bought himself for their anniversary. My sister Rachel followed behind them, already wearing that smile she had perfected over 32 years, the one that said she had already won whatever game we were playing. Rachel kissed the air near my cheek and apologized for being late. Traffic from the spa was terrible, she said. Michael stood and shook hands with my father, then pulled out chairs for the women. Despite our situation, he had insisted on paying for this dinner. When I argued, he just said 2 words. Trust me. Those words had carried me through the past 2 months. Michael worked in finance, something complicated involving foreign accounts that he rarely discussed at home. We had been engaged for 8 months, and he had been Sophia's father in every way that mattered beyond genetics. The waiter brought menus. Rachel ordered the most expensive wine without asking anyone else's preference. Standard behavior. She had always been the golden child who could do no wrong. She dropped out of college twice because she was finding herself. I was criticized for bragging about finishing my degree while working 3 jobs. She married a real estate developer who left her for his secretary and took most of their assets. My parents paid for her legal fees, the down payment on her new condo, and her credit card debt. They had never once offered to help me with anything. After we ordered, my father spoke with the boardroom authority he was known for. He said I had mentioned this dinner was important. I tried to speak, but my throat tightened. Sophia squeezed my hand. She had wanted to stay home with Michael's sister, but I needed her there. I needed my parents to see what was at stake. Michael spoke instead. He explained that Sophia needed surgery, that it was time-sensitive, that the tumor was growing and doctors had given us a narrow window before it caused permanent paralysis. My mother's face flickered with something that might have been alarm. She said it was terrible, but surely insurance would cover it. I explained. They were calling it elective, not medically necessary. We had appealed twice. Our lawyer said we might eventually win, but Sophia did not have eventually. She had 4 weeks before the neurological damage became irreversible. Speaking the timeline out loud made it unbearably real. Sophia's fingers tightened around mine. Rachel sipped her wine and asked what exactly we expected our parents to do about it. I had anticipated this question. I had practiced my response in the mirror, in the car, in the shower. I told them I was asking for a loan. The surgery cost $150,000. I would sign anything, agree to any terms. I had my house as collateral. I would work the rest of my life to pay it back if I had to, but I needed help now. My father cut into his steak. The knife scraped against the plate. He said it was a substantial amount of money. Asked if we were certain about this surgeon, whether we had gotten second opinions. Michael explained we had consulted with 7 specialists across 3 states. Dr. Williams at Johns Hopkins was the best option. He had performed this procedure successfully for years with excellent outcomes. The insurance company was just trying to avoid paying. Rachel remarked that surgery was always risky. Maybe we should wait and see if insurance came through. Sophia made a small sound. Not quite a whimper, but close. I wanted to throw my water glass at Rachel's perfectly made-up face. Michael's voice remained calm, but turned cold. He explained that the tumor would not wait. Every day increased the chance of permanent damage. My mother leaned across the table and touched my hand. The gesture felt theatrical, meant to be seen. She said they wanted to help. They really did. But that kind of money was complicated. They had their own obligations. I asked what obligations. The words came out sharper than I intended. My father's jaw tightened. He hated being challenged. He listed my mother's medical expenses, house maintenance, retirement planning. I had seen their bank statements a few years earlier when I helped them with their taxes. They had investments totaling over $2 million. The house was paid off. My mother's medical expenses consisted of Botox injections and dermatological treatments from a wellness clinic. I reminded them I was not asking for a gift. I would put it in writing. Pay interest. Whatever they needed. Rachel leaned back in her chair. She said my problem was that I had always been too proud. Too proud to ask for help until I was desperate. And then I expected everyone to drop everything. The audacity of that statement took my breath away. Rachel had asked for money more times than I could count. Rachel had borrowed $4,200 from me 6 years ago and never mentioned it again. Rachel had moved back home 3 times as an adult. I told her that was not fair. She smiled wider and said life was not fair. That I had made my choices. Had a kid young. Chose a career that did not pay well. My mother cut her off. Said this was not helpful. The table went silent. The restaurant continued around us. Other families ate their meals, unaware that my entire world was crumbling in the corner booth. My father cleared his throat. He said they had actually been discussing this since I called. That he and my mother had talked it over extensively. Hope flared in my chest. Painful and bright. He said they had decided they could give us some money. Not the full amount, but something to help. Michael asked how much. $18,000. The hope died instantly. $18,000 would not even cover the anesthesiologist. I started to respond, but my father raised his hand. He said they had also decided to help Rachel. That she had been through a difficult time with the divorce and was trying to start over. They wanted to support both their daughters equally. The world shifted beneath me. My mother was actually smiling as she spoke. She said they were giving Rachel the money they had set aside for my request. Rachel wanted to start a boutique. She had always been creative, and now she had the opportunity to really establish herself. I repeated the word. A boutique. I asked if they were using my daughter's surgery money to open a shop. Rachel said quickly that it was not my money. It was their money. They could do whatever they wanted with it. Michael placed his hand on my shoulder. His grip was firm and grounding. I asked how much they were giving her. My father looked slightly uncomfortable. He said they had agreed to invest $140,000 in Rachel's business venture. It was a loan, of course, though they were not requiring immediate repayment. She would pay them back when the business became profitable. The numbers did not even try to hide what this was. They had taken the exact amount I requested and given it to my sister instead. They kept $18,000 to maintain deniability, to claim they were helping us equally. Michael's voice remained perfectly calm as he asked for clarification. They were choosing to fund a boutique over their granddaughter's surgery. My mother said that was not how they saw it. They were helping both their daughters. Rachel deserved a chance at a better life. She had been through so much. I asked what Sophia had been through. What my 7-year-old had experienced that mattered less than Rachel's lifestyle choices. Rachel rolled her eyes and told me not to be dramatic. It was not like Sophia was dying. Sophia pulled her hand away from mine. I heard her sharp intake of breath. The kind that comes before tears. Michael immediately moved to her side, crouching beside her chair and murmuring something I could not hear. I turned to my sister. Without the surgery, I said clearly, paralysis is guaranteed within 2 months. And yes, the tumor is potentially fatal. So maybe choose your words more carefully when discussing my daughter's life. My mother's voice turned pleading. She said this did not have to be a fight. We were all family. My father nodded. He said they had made their decision. They believed it was fair and balanced. Rachel needed this opportunity, and they wanted to support her. We would figure something out for Sophia. We always did. The dismissal was unmistakable. They had made up their minds before they even walked into the restaurant. This dinner was just theater. An opportunity to announce their decision and feel good about the symbolic $18,000 they were offering. My father said it with pride. That Rachel deserved a better life. After everything she had been through, she deserved this chance. He said it like he had done something heroic. Like choosing one daughter's business venture over the other daughter's child was wisdom rather than cruelty. I did not cry. I had cried enough over the past 2 months. In hospital parking lots. In the shower. in my car during lunch breaks. I had cried until all that remained was a cold, clear understanding of who my parents truly were. Instead, I turned to look at Michael. He had returned to his seat after comforting Sophia, and his expression was unreadable. Our eyes met, and I saw something I had never noticed before. Not sympathy, not even anger. Calculation. He stood slowly and reached inside his jacket pocket. His phone appeared, sleek and expensive. He held it casually, almost carelessly, while looking at my father. He asked if he should tell them what he really did for a living. The question hung in the air. Rachel's smile began to fade. She had been triumphant seconds before, practically glowing. Now uncertainty crept into her expression. My father said dismissively that Michael worked in finance. They knew that. Michael agreed. But specifically, he said, he was a senior partner at Berkeley & Company. They handled wealth management and private banking for high-net-worth individuals. He personally managed a portfolio of approximately $750 million. The number landed like a bomb. My mother's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Michael continued. His annual salary was $1.1 million, not including bonuses. Last year, his bonus was $2.9 million. He had been hesitant to discuss this because I valued privacy, and he did not want our relationship to become about money. Rachel's smile had completely vanished. Her face had gone pale beneath her makeup. Michael said they had not needed my parents' money. They had more than enough for Sophia's surgery. He had investment accounts, savings, assets. They could pay for this surgery 10 times over without feeling it. I felt dizzy. He turned to me and said he wanted me to ask them, that I needed to know who they really were, what they would choose when it mattered. His gaze returned to my parents. And now we all know. My father's face had turned red. He demanded to know why Michael had put them through this charade. Michael said it was not a charade for him. He genuinely wanted to believe that when faced with their granddaughter's life, they would make the right choice. He paused. He said he was wrong, and he was sorry for that. But he needed to know what kind of people he was marrying into. He took out his wallet and placed a credit card on the table. He said dinner was on him. All of it, including Rachel's expensive wine. Rachel found her voice. She accused him of letting them think, of manipulating them. Michael corrected her. He had observed. There was a difference. They came asking for help, and everyone revealed exactly who they were. The money he had did not change the choice they made. They decided a boutique was worth more than their granddaughter's health. That was a decision they would have to live with. My mother reached for me. She said if they had known. I pushed away from her touch. Known what? That Michael had money? That only mattered if they were making a financial decision instead of a moral one. Sophia needed surgery either way. That had not changed. Rachel said it was not fair. That we had set them up. Made them look bad on purpose. Michael laughed sharply. Nobody made them do anything. They were given the opportunity to help a child, their own niece, and they refused. The fact that we did not actually need their money did not alter their decision. My father objected. They were still planning to give us $18,000. That was not nothing. I stood up. I told him he was right. It was not nothing. It was insulting. It was the minimum amount they thought they could offer while still claiming they helped. It was a tip, not assistance. I picked up Sophia. She wrapped her arms around my neck. She was getting too big to carry comfortably, but I needed to hold her. Michael placed his hand on my back and guided us toward the exit. My mother said to wait. Pleaded for us not to leave like this. Said we could talk about it. I did not turn around. I told her there was nothing to talk about. They had made their choice. Rachel got her boutique. I hoped it was everything she dreamed of. Rachel shouted that I was being childish, that I had tricked them. I stopped and turned. I told them I had not tricked anyone. I asked my parents to help save my daughter's life. They all decided that funding a retail store was more important. Those were the facts. What they did with that information was up to them. We left. The cold evening air hit my face as we walked to Michael's car. Sophia was crying silently against my shoulder. Michael unlocked the door and helped us both inside before getting into the driver's seat. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The restaurant lights glowed behind us, warm and inviting. Such a contrast to what had just happened inside. Michael finally said he was sorry, that he knew it was hard. I asked why he had not told me. About the money. About his plan. He said because I would not have gone through with it. I would have said it was cruel or manipulative. But he needed me to see them clearly. We were about to get married. Sophia was about to become his legal daughter. He needed to know if my parents would be a positive presence in our lives or a toxic one. His gaze returned to the road. And now we all know. My father had turned red with anger. He demanded to know why Michael had put them through this. Michael said it was not about putting them through anything. He genuinely hoped they would choose correctly. But now we knew where we stood. Sophia stirred against me in the back seat. She asked in a small voice why Grandma did not love her. The question destroyed something inside me. I told her that Grandma did love her. She just did not know how to show it properly. Sophia whispered that was a lie, that I did not have to lie anymore. She had heard what they said. She asked me later why Grandma did not love her. Michael caught my eye in the rearview mirror. He told Sophia that her grandparents made a bad choice tonight. But she was going to be okay. We were going to take care of her. The surgery was scheduled for next month. She was going to get better. Sophia asked if she would see them again. Michael said that was up to her mom, and eventually up to her. The drive home felt surreal. Sophia fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted by the emotional toll. Michael's hand found mine across the console, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. Neither of us spoke for the first 10 minutes. I finally admitted I kept replaying it. The look on my father's face when he said Rachel deserved a better life. Like it was obvious. Like it was the only reasonable conclusion. Michael squeezed my hand. He said my father believed it. That was what made it so devastating. He genuinely thought funding a boutique was equivalent to saving a child's life. I asked how he had stayed so calm. I had wanted to scream. Wanted to flip the table. He half smiled. Years of practice hiding what he was thinking. A skill developed in finance. But he had wanted to do a lot more than flip a table. When we got home, I carried Sophia upstairs and tucked her into bed. She stirred when I pulled up the blanket. She asked if we were going to be okay. I brushed her hair back. Told her we were going to be more than okay. I promised. She asked if we would be okay, even without Grandma and Grandpa. The question broke my heart. I told her especially if that was what it took to keep her safe and loved properly. She nodded and closed her eyes. I watched her for a long time. This brave little girl who had been through so much. The scar on her back from the biopsy. The nights she had cried in pain. How she had learned to ask if we could afford things before asking for them. 7 years old, and already carrying weight no child should bear. I went downstairs and found Michael in his office. He had his laptop open, multiple screens showing financial data I could not understand. He said without looking up that he was setting up a trust for Sophia. Education, medical expenses, whatever she needed. It would be ironclad. My parents would never be able to touch it or contest it. He was also having their lawyer draft an agreement that explicitly excluded them from any medical decisions. If anything happened to me, they would have no rights. His sister would get guardianship, not them. I sank into the chair across from his desk. I asked if he really thought they would try to interfere. He finally looked at me. He said people who valued money over a child's health could rationalize anything. He was not taking chances with Sophia's future. The next morning, I had 17 missed calls. My parents had apparently spent the night trying to reach me. The voicemails ranged from confused to angry to pleading. I deleted them all without listening past the first few seconds of each. Work was a welcome distraction. I had been marketing director at a small software company for 3 years, and my boss had been incredibly understanding about Sophia's medical situation. When I arrived, my colleague Ethan was waiting at my desk with coffee. He asked how it went with my parents. I had told him about the dinner, about my desperate need for help, but I had not revealed Michael's plan or his actual income. I told Ethan they decided to fund my sister's boutique instead. His jaw dropped. He asked if I was joking. I said I wished I was. He asked what I was going to do, whether I could take out loans or start a crowdfunding campaign. I told him that actually, Michael had the money all along. He wanted to see what choice they would make. Ethan was quiet for a moment. He said that was either brilliant or cruel. He could not decide which. I admitted I could not either. But it worked. I finally knew exactly who they were. My phone rang. My mother calling again. I declined. Ethan asked if they were not getting the hint. I said they were probably still in shock. To give it a few days. That was when the real messages would start. I was right. By Wednesday, the tone shifted. My father texted calling me ungrateful and manipulative. My mother sent a long email explaining how I was tearing the family apart. Rachel left a voicemail calling me every name she could think of, her voice sharp and vicious. She said I always had to be the victim, always had to make everything about me, that our parents were trying to help both of us, and I threw a tantrum because I did not get my way. She told me to grow up, that the world did not revolve around me and my kid. I saved the voicemail. Something told me I might need it later. Michael came home Thursday evening with news. He said my sister had gone to his office that day. I looked up from helping Sophia with her homework. He explained she showed up at reception and demanded to see him. Security escorted her out, but not before she caused a scene. He loosened his tie. She was screaming about how he had ruined her life, how he had manipulated everyone, how she was going to sue him for emotional distress. I asked if she could actually do that. He said no, but she could try. It would cost her money she did not have. He poured himself a drink. He said my parents had been waiting in the parking garage. He thought they had planned it together. My stomach clenched. I asked if they had approached him. He said my father did. Asked if they could talk man to man. Michael told him they had nothing to discuss, and that if any of them showed up at his workplace again, he would get a restraining order. Sophia was watching us, her pencil frozen over her math worksheet. I forced a smile, told her it was just adult drama, nothing for her to worry about. She did not look convinced, but she returned to her homework. That night, after Sophia fell asleep, I finally broke down. Michael found me in the bathroom, sitting on the floor, crying into a towel to muffle the sound. I said they were supposed to love her. She was their granddaughter. How could they choose money for Rachel over Sophia's life? What kind of people did that? Michael sat beside me and pulled me against him. He said the kind of people who never should have been parents in the first place. I kept thinking about when I was younger. My father teaching me to ride a bike. My mother making my Halloween costumes. Were those people ever real? Or was I just useful until I was not? Michael said maybe both. That people could love you and still be fundamentally selfish. The love did not make the selfishness hurt less. Friday brought a different approach. My Aunt Helen, my mother's sister, called me. We had always been close. She was the one who babysat me when my parents were busy. The one who came to my college graduation when they skipped it for Rachel's rehab completion ceremony. She said my mother had asked her to call. That my mother was devastated. They both were. I asked if she expected that information to change anything. Helen said she was not calling to take sides. She just wanted me to know they were struggling with this. They thought they were making a balanced decision. I told her they gave Rachel $140,000 for a boutique and offered me $18,000 for Sophia's surgery. I asked how that was balanced. She sighed. She admitted when I put it that way, it sounded bad. I said it sounded bad because it was bad. Helen mentioned that my mother had said Michael had the money all along, that we were not really in need. I asked if it would have been okay if we were actually desperate, if we had no options, and they still chose Rachel's boutique. Would that have been acceptable? She said of course not. I told her then Michael's money did not change anything. They made a choice based on what they believed was true. They chose wrong. Helen was quiet. She finally said I was right, that she was sorry. She should not have called. I told her it was okay, but I asked her to tell them to stop. Stop calling. Stop showing up places. Stop sending people to plead their case. They made their decision. I had made mine. The weekend was comparatively peaceful. Michael took us to the zoo. Sophia laughed for the first time in days, pointing out animals and reading the information plaques enthusiastically. We had lunch in the cafe, and Michael let her order whatever she wanted. Sophia said it was nice. Just us. I agreed. Just us. Michael caught my eye over Sophia's head. His expression was both sad and resolute. We were building our own family now. One that did not include people who had failed the most basic test of love. Monday brought the first crack in my parents' united front. My mother called from a number I did not recognize, so I answered thinking it might be the hospital or Sophia's school. She begged me not to hang up. Said she just needed 5 minutes. I should have disconnected immediately. She said my father and she had a fight. A bad one. About the money, about Rachel, about me. He was saying she was too soft, that I was being manipulative and they should stand firm. But she kept thinking about Sophia. I told her she should have thought about Sophia at the dinner. She said she knew, that I was right, that she should have. Her voice cracked. She said she had made a lot of mistakes with me, favoring Rachel, looking the other way when Rachel treated me badly. She told herself it was because Rachel needed more support, because she struggled more. But the truth was it was easier to give in to Rachel than to stand up for me. I did not respond. Could not. She said she wanted to make this right. She knew we did not need the money now, but she wanted to give it anyway. For Sophia's surgery. For her recovery. Whatever we needed. She would take it from the money they gave Rachel. I asked what my father thought about that. Silence. I asked if he knew she was calling. She admitted he did not. That he would be furious. But she did not care anymore. I was her daughter. Sophia was her granddaughter. She should have chosen us. It was the closest thing to an apology I had ever received from her. Part of me wanted to accept it, to believe she had finally seen the truth. But another part, the part that had watched her smile while explaining why Rachel deserved more, could not forget. I told her I appreciated it. I really did. But it was too late. She begged me to reconsider. I explained that she did not just make a financial mistake. She revealed what she valued. And I could not expose Sophia to people who might make her feel less important than her cousins, less worthy of love or support. I could not risk her internalizing the same treatment I had experienced. She said she would never make Sophia feel that way. I told her she already had. Sophia was sitting right there when she said Rachel deserved a better life. She heard every word. She asked me afterward why Grandma did not love her. My mother's sob was audible through the phone. I said I was not trying to hurt her, but I was done protecting her feelings at the expense of my daughter's well-being. She made her choice. This was mine. I hung up before she could respond. Then I added her new number to my contacts as Mom do not answer, so I would know to ignore it if she called back. Michael had been listening from the doorway. He said that must have been hard. I said it was necessary. She wanted absolution without consequences. That was not how this worked. 2 weeks later, my phone buzzed with a series of texts. First from my mother, then my father, then Rachel. The boutique had fallen through. The property owner realized Rachel's business plan was inadequate and she had no experience. He pulled out of the lease. Rachel was demanding my parents sue him. They were asking if we could help with legal fees. I blocked all their numbers, including my mother's new one. Sophia's surgery was scheduled for the following Tuesday. Dr. Williams had been able to move up her appointment after another patient rescheduled. The timing was perfect. We would be through the worst of it before my family could cause any more chaos. Sophia had her surgery on a Tuesday morning, 3 weeks after the disastrous dinner. After 6 hours, Dr. Williams emerged and told us everything had gone perfectly. The tumor was completely removed. While she would need physical therapy, a full recovery was expected. I wept in Michael's arms in the waiting room, releasing months of fear and dread. Rachel showed up at the hospital 2 hours later. She must have called around to find out where we were. Probably pestered mutual acquaintances until someone told her. She talked her way past the front desk by claiming to be Sophia's aunt and found us in the surgical recovery wing waiting room. Her hair was unwashed. Her makeup was smudged. She looked desperate. She begged me to talk to her. Said our parents would not take her calls. The boutique money, they wanted it back. They were threatening to sue her. She needed help. She needed a lawyer. Michael stepped between us. He told her she needed to leave. She said I was her sister, that she had a right. Michael's voice turned cold. He told her she had no rights here. She made it clear where her priorities were. Now she could deal with the consequences. Security escorted her out. I watched her go and felt nothing but exhaustion. My parents tried again. They showed up with flowers and stuffed animals. They smiled and cooed over Sophia as if the dinner had never happened. Sophia politely tolerated their presence but refused to engage with them. After 15 minutes of awkward small talk, they left. In the parking garage, my father cornered me while my mother kept Michael occupied. He said this made me just as bad as them, cutting them off because they made one mistake, using money to control relationships. I was no better. I studied him. This man who taught me to ride a bike, who helped me with homework, who walked me down the aisle at my first wedding. I tried to find a trace of love for him. I came up empty. I told him the difference was that I would have given them the money if Sophia was fine and Rachel was the one who was sick. I would have helped without conditions or tests. They failed one. I was not manipulating them with money. I was protecting my daughter from people who valued a boutique over her life. There was a difference. He flinched. I said that what made it unforgivable was that if they had known about Michael's money, they might have made a different choice. But that would have been for the wrong reasons. They should have chosen Sophia because she was a child who needed help. The money should never have mattered. I walked away, leaving him standing alone among the parked cars. Sophia walked unassisted for the first time 6 months after surgery. Her physical therapist cried. So did I. Michael recorded the whole thing, narrating like a sports announcer and making Sophia giggle. We went home and ordered pizza and watched movies until Sophia fell asleep between us on the couch. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Rachel. The boutique failed. She was bankrupt. My parents were suing her for the money. She begged me to help. I deleted the message without responding. Another text arrived. She said she was my sister. Asked if that did not mean anything. I blocked that number too. Michael found me on the back porch later that night, staring at the stars. He brought me tea and sat beside me. He asked if I had any regrets. I thought about it carefully. I said I regretted that they made the choice they made. I regretted that Sophia heard it. I regretted that this was who they truly were. But cutting them off? No regrets about that. Michael said Rachel's legal troubles would probably drag on for months. My parents would likely lose their case eventually. She never signed proper loan documents. And even if she had no assets to collect against. I asked how he knew that. He said he had friends in family law. They were talking about it. He paused. He said my parents were almost certainly going to lose most of that $140,000. Rachel had already spent a significant portion of it. I asked on what. Apparently, she went on a shopping spree before the boutique deal fell apart. Bought a new car, furniture, clothes. She thought she was about to run a successful business. I sipped my tea. Chamomile. My favorite. I said I should feel something. Satisfaction maybe. Or vindication. But I just felt tired. Michael said that was normal. They were my parents. Grieving them did not require their death. Just the death of who I thought they were. He asked if I knew. When he first met them, did I know it would end like this? He said he suspected. The way they talked about Rachel versus how they talked about me. The way they lit up for her and offered polite smiles for me. He saw the pattern. He just needed me to see it too. Sophia called out from inside, half awake and asking for water. We went to her together and tucked her back in. Her room was covered with pictures she had drawn during recovery. Rainbows, houses, stick figure families. In every single one, there were 3 people. Her, me, and Michael. My parents were not in any of them. 1 year later, I received a wedding invitation in the mail. My parents were renewing their vows. 40 years of marriage. The invitation was formal and expensive. My name was on the envelope, but there was no personal note. Just printed information and an RSVP card. I threw it away. My mother called 2 days later from another new number. I recognized the area code and almost did not answer. But curiosity got the better of me. She asked if I got the invitation. I said yes. She asked if I would come. Said it would mean so much to them. That family should be there. I said no. She begged. Said my father wanted to reconcile. So did she. They missed Sophia. They missed me. I told her she chose this. When she had a chance to help Sophia, she chose Rachel's boutique. When she had a chance to show up for us, she chose her own comfort. Actions have consequences. She said that was more than a year ago. Asked if I was going to hold on to it forever. I explained it was never about the money. It was about the choice. She revealed who she was when it mattered. I was protecting my daughter from people who saw her as less important than their other grandchildren. Less important than their investments. Less important than their image. She said quietly that Rachel was suffering. Living in a studio apartment. Working retail. She had nothing. I told her to help Rachel then. That was what she chose. She could live with it. She asked what about them. Did they not deserve forgiveness? I told her forgiveness was not the same as relationship. I did not hate them. I just did not trust them. And I would not expose Sophia to people I did not trust. I hung up and blocked the new number. Michael found the invitation in the trash later. He asked if my mother had called. I said yes. He asked how I felt. I said free. Then asked if that was wrong. Should I not feel guilty or sad? He said I felt how I felt. They made their choice. I made mine. That was how consequences worked. Sophia bounded into the kitchen after school, bursting with stories about her day. She had made the soccer team. Her legs were strong, fully healed. She was thriving. Michael and I listened as she rattled on about practice, her friends, the science project she wanted to start. She did not ask about her grandparents. She did not mention the invitation she knew nothing about. She was happy in the family we had created, the one that showed up when it mattered. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. I glanced at the text. It said this was cruel. That they were my parents. They deserved better than this. I deleted it without responding and turned off my phone. Sophia grabbed my hand. She asked if we could make cookies. Michael had promised they could try the recipe with chocolate chips and peanut butter. I told her absolutely and let her lead me toward the pantry. Behind me, Michael was already pulling out the mixing bowls. Our home was warm, full, safe. Outside, my parents were probably planning their anniversary celebration and making excuses for why one daughter could not attend. Rachel was working a job she thought was beneath her, blaming everyone but herself for her circumstances. And I was baking cookies with my daughter. A daughter who could walk and run and live a full life because we saved her without them. Some people believe family is everything. That blood demands forgiveness. That parents deserve unlimited chances. That sisters should always support each other. Those people have not watched their parents choose money over their child's life. I did, and I chose correctly. But I am also grateful in unexpected ways. Grateful that I survived, that my voice mattered, that the experience taught me about strength I did not know I possessed. I learned I could face someone in court and speak the truth, that I could turn trauma into advocacy, that surviving a crisis sometimes meant helping others survive theirs. Would I choose to go through it again? Never. But having gone through it, I am choosing to make it mean something more than just survival. The night Olivia locked that door and walked away, she thought she was silencing a problem. Instead, she created a voice that would be heard. And in the end, that voice locked her away instead.